What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Ranger Talk video. I got a really special guest here today. It's the immensely creative and talented Jeff of Nachtmuse. How's it going, man? Thank you so much for joining me here.
It's going good. Thank you for having me, and thank you for that glowing description.
No problem, man. I speak only the truth here, so but yeah, thank you again for joining me. And I want to ask first, I guess, about the name Nachtmuse. How'd you come up with the name?
Um, hmm. Uh, well, Nachtmuse, Nacht is a German word for night. So night is a big theme in metal music in general, symphonic metal, and also I'm just kind of naturally a night owl myself. Like other than my daily obligations, if I didn't have that, I'd probably be up until like 6 a.m.
Oh,
That's what's natural to me. That's when I'm creative and such. So I'm like a Nacht guy.
yeah.
And muse, creativity. You follow your muse. It's a very creative outlet of mine. So, knock muse. That's what I ended up going with.
Cool. Yeah. Why use the German word instead of call it night muse?
Metal.
Fair
It's
enough.
metal.
I dig
Yeah.
it. So when did the band kind of start? When did you make the decision to kind of put something together and create this band, Not the Muse? And how did you find some like-minded individuals to help out with the vision that you had?
Yeah. So I've been in various death metal bands here in Toronto for a long time. I'm in my mid 30s now, and I've been doing it basically since I left high school. So involved in many different death metal bands, and I like that. It's very enjoyable to me. Some of my best friends are the guys I play with, but I found it a bit limiting in the end to just play death metal stuff. It's very percussive, not melodic music, and I want to make melodic music. I like melodic music. My favorite music is Therian, and they're extremely melodic and majestic and everything I could say of so many things about them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had this creative need that was not being fulfilled. I wanted to make different sorts of music. So I was just like toying with the idea around 2017 of like making my own sort of guitar-based melodic music that has some inspiration from bands that I like. So I just took a shot at it. I made a 2-song demo. Um, it was very fulfilling to do so. So from there, I just kind of embarked upon this creative task of making more of the music, which led to the full length release that I did last year. And in doing so, I mean, it's just me. I'm not a singer, so I had to find some good voices to work with. And at the time, I was working with an old friend. He was my songwriting partner for the first album, and he hooked up Maud and Jeff. These are two vocalists. They live in Montreal. That's the French part of Canada. Um, so they're extremely talented. They have we looked at different people, but out of all the people we looked at, they were like the best fit for what we were doing. So yeah, Maud and Jeff joined on. They became the voices on the previous full length and the current EP. And that's basically been the small group. It's just myself, those two vocalists. The guy I mentioned, the songwriter guy, he's not in the picture anymore. But yeah, so that's how I hooked up with my two vocalists there.
Awesome. I mean, it works out wonderfully, because uh, speaking of, I guess finding the right voices for your work is so diverse and so kind of different. I'm sure have the vocalists ever mentioned to you, like, what's it been like recording vocals for your songs, or has it been challenging, or anything like that? Just because the nature of your music, it's so dynamic, and it's so unique, and you use so many different elements in there. Has that been a challenge to get vocals kind of, on top of, the constantly shifting, I guess, stylings and structure of your songs?
Um, well, I guess I'll speak to each individual case because we're talking about two vocalists. So there's Jeff, who does like the accompaniment when I have the male vocal come in. I think the requests I've made with him have been outside of his comfort zone because he mainly is like a death metal, black metal vocalist. In fact, I should mention both he and Maud are part of a group called Growlers Choir. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're like this entire choir of growlers from Montreal, and they do features in like on TV, and they do events and stuff. I don't know, it's just pretty wild what they do. It, like just imagine like 24 growlers doing like a Britney Spears cover or something, like on TV or in it's wild. But I digress. So Jeff is like mainly a death metal vocalist, and I'm like, Jeff, dude, can you sing this thing? Can you do these harmonies? And he did his best. He's got a good voice, and I'm happy with the result. I really pushed him beyond his comfort zone, but I think he did well with it, and I'd like to think that I've helped him to broaden his horizons by doing that. With Maud, however, she's just so talented. That's like I don't think I'm even pushing her limits at all. Like I could probably ask her for more, like higher ranges, crazier melodies, and she'd be like, okay, and just, she'd probably pull it off. If anything, what I would like to do in the future with her is be like, what do you think about this riff, this chord progression? What can you do with that really plays to your strengths? Because up until now I've been like, this is the melody for this part, and she goes, okay, and she does it. There might be some revisions, but she pretty much nails it. I
Yeah.
like to see what she can do in the future. Like she told me she's a coloratura. I didn't know what that was, so I looked it up. It's basically like a soprano, but they do not normal stuff. They do like special effects and crazy like trills and stuff. That's her specialty when it comes to classical vocals. So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow, yeah, that's really, really impressive. So yeah, it's like you're telling her to do something, and she's like, "That's it." And you even said like, if you try to, expand on that, make her do even more difficult stuff, she'd probably just be like, "Oh, that's all you need? All right, no big
yeah, I think
deal."
so.
So
I think
yeah,
so.
getting
Yeah.
her involved, I guess, would pretty cool to see what she would come up with on her own.
Mhm.
But yeah, speaking of the music itself, it's really difficult. I think to classify Nachtmuse, like if you were to try to pick just like one genre, of music, it's tough to say it's just symphonic metal or, maybe progressive metal or melodic metal or, anything. And especially evident in your latest single, The Sunken. Um, I, I mean, the cool thing about Nachtmuse is I never quite know what to expect from one song to another. Like it has that signature Nachtmuse sound, but there's always some experimentation going on. So I just wonder, like, in your head, do you just are you constantly like, I guess you said you're like up to like 6 a.m. sometimes. Like, are you constantly just lying awake at night with just all these different melodies and sounds and stuff like just rolling through your head?
I think it varies. Like, um, my method with a song will usually I'll start with something like a simple riff or chord progression, and maybe with that certain riff, I had a very specific intention. Like, say for instance, on the full length, there was the song Hooray. I go, oh, I want a song with like this waltzy feel and like a very like majestic thing going on. So I'll start with that seed, but then from there, it's like, well, what do I do now? Like you flesh out an idea and it goes so far and you're like, great, I've got 45 seconds of music. And then what happens, right? So you look at it and then what comes up is your own history of music listening. right? So it'll be like, oh, well, I kind of hear this thing happening now based on this thing that I listened to when I was 14 or something, it just comes out. So then you end up with like, it can get eclectic sometimes, like what happens in the song. Like, for instance, I'm gonna pay you a compliment right now. With the Sunken, you said, "Oh, kind of a grungy thing going on."
Yeah.
Yes, man. Like definitely, I was like, "Oh, I'm hearing this chord progression, kind of like Alice in Chains right now." So that's what came out, you know?
Awesome, man. Yeah, I was like, man, this is not. I was like, this kind of sound. I haven't heard this kind of sound, and this takes me back hearing that
Yeah,
kind of sound in the song. So I was like, yeah, that's what it reminded me of. That's awesome.
yeah. Like you make very good observations like that. Like you're pretty on it. You can tell that you've listened to a lot of music.
I do, and but thank you so much. That you're too kind, truly. But yeah, that's one thing though. It makes it very fun. As someone who does listen to like a lot of music, it makes it very fun to listen, in particular to your songs, because there's so many elements, and it's not just very cookie cutter standard kind of stuff that you hear a lot. There's a lot of different elements in there, a lot of different pieces and whatnot. So it makes it very fun to kind of listen to and pick out to try to see, what's going on in your mind, as you're
Yeah.
creating the songs. So, but so that's cool. So you kind of put the songs, it almost has like a natural progression to it. You start with something, you let it sit a little bit, you kind of see where it takes your mind and what, just and you kind of add on to that and add on to that and things like
Yeah.
that. It's not just
Yeah.
like you envision the song from start to finish, like this is how I want it all.
Yeah, it's very hard to envision a song from start to finish. Like maybe some guys can do it, but I don't think I have the mental power to like do an entire song in my head, I'll be like, I want to do this, and then what happens now? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So yeah, so what was the reception like for your debut full length, which was what was that, and that was last year, was it not, or was that 2021 now?
Yeah, it was at the start of last year.
Start of last year. So yeah, what was that like, getting your first full length album out there and seeing what people kind of thought about it?
I have mixed things to say about that. Like, on the one hand, people like it. They say the music's good, the songs are good, production's good, all good things to say about what they've heard. But the issue is I have a very hard time getting the music out there. Like I've observed that in this genre, it's very visual. Like people have music videos,
Yeah.
photo shoots, etc. Like there are some bands I have seen more photos of the bands than songs that I've heard. That's just the nature of the game.
Yeah.
Like I even some bands I haven't heard a single song yet, but I know what everybody in the band looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't really do that because it's me, it's my vocalists who live 3 hours away.
Mhm.
I've only met them in person once. Like we got together to do a music video, which is awesome. But we're gonna need like a lot more music videos and a lot more like crazy photo shoots and whatnot to keep up. So I'm definitely having an issue on the visual side of things. And I think I would have a much better reception if I could just like upgrade that area of activity with Nachtmuse.
Yeah, Under the Yoke, that was the music video, right? Oh man,
Yes, that was so much fun to film.
what a
But
song!
what I'm saying is that I need a lot more of that um, uh, to get the reception that I feel like I'd like to see with Nachtmuse.
Yeah, it's funny how you mentioned, with the photo shoots and all that kind of stuff. And to your point, a lot of times when the label's introducing a new band, before we even hear the first song, before the first single's released, we've seen so many different like promotional materials and all this of the band. But then also a lot of bands these days literally are releasing like half of the album as singles, and each single has like a fully fledged music video to it, and it's like by the time you listen to the album, it's like, well, I know half of it, and there was music videos for all of it too.
Yeah.
but that's what really kind of brings people in, to your point. So it's like, people like the music videos, they like seeing what's going on and all that kind of stuff. Because I've spoken to some folks too, and like with the Spotify numbers, I'm not sure. I'd be curious to know, like on Spotify or whatnot, is Under the Yoke like the top, and then everything else just kind of dwindles
Um,
down from listeners from there? Because
I haven't checked recently. I know the numbers might have changed a bit because I've been releasing some new singles lately.
yeah.
I seem to recall Sky Garden was big just
Hmm.
because it's the first track on the full length.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. It's worth checking up on. I think Sky Garden was in the lead before, but that might have changed by now.
Yeah, I was just curious because I've spoken with some bands, and they've said like all the singles just have lots and lots of views or listens or whatnot, and then the non-singles, it's small because like people now, they don't really listen to full length albums as much anymore. Sit down and actually listen to the whole album. Everyone
Yeah,
likes just they just scroll through and they just watch all the singles, the music videos, and all that kind of stuff, and that's what they remember. Has
yeah.
that made it difficult? Do you think? I mean, you've already stated you'd like to do more videos and stuff, but just even as a musician and your other bands and whatnot, has that change in landscape kind of just made it difficult in general to really do anything, bigger than just try to have some killer singles?
Uh, I think so. Yeah. Like, this is an indie act. Everything is funded out of our own pockets, out of my pocket, to be honest. And yeah, it can be very difficult. I'm also kind of stubborn. Like, I'm an album listener. I listen to entire albums.
Mhm.
I release my music like in that fashion, like because I make music I want to hear. I present it in the way I would want it to be presented, and that's not the most lucrative way to go about it. I know it's all about singles these days, and I kind of play that game to the best that I can with what I have.
Mhm.
Um, but like we touched on, it's expensive to like have a single and promote it like an entire album, and then do another single and promote it like an entire album. I mean, what I can do, which is for free, is write songs. And I record them myself and everything. I do my production. I can do that like all day, all night. But I find it difficult to just promote and follow this game of having singles and the social media explosion that follows each one. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's wild out there for sure. So after your full length album, now you're releasing a EP. Was there a reason that you decided to go with the EP route, or as opposed to doing another full length, or what thought process came through with that one?
I think I might have mentioned I had a songwriting partner for the first full length. So
Mhm.
he and I worked together. He's an old friend from high school. We've been playing music together on and off for a very long time. So he and I worked together on the full length over the course of like maybe 4 or 5 years, incredibly. Um, and after the music video, we were like, okay, we're gonna make some plans for the rest of 2022. But then he and I had an amicable departure. So we're still buddies, but he doesn't want to work with Nachtmuse anymore.
Mhm.
So that changed my entire plan. I didn't know what exactly to do from there. Um, so what I ended up doing is what I always do, what I'm best at, which is make some more songs. So that's what I did. I was like, okay, I want to keep this train rolling. I'm just gonna make some more songs, try to have them done by the end of the year. Realistically, that's an EP, not a full length. So I made over the summer, I wrote these songs. Over the fall, I recorded them. By the end of the year, they were ready to go. Now we have this EP now, Darker Skies.
Awesome. Really cool. It's just neat how you keep writing these songs, and the EP, the songs I've heard so far just sound like a nice follow-up. It's just really cool to see the evolution just so far, in the sound, and since you started making the music and all of that kind of stuff. So it's really cool, that you're doing this. And I was going to ask you too. You said you record and you know you do the production and I guess the mixing and all that stuff um, for your music as well. How did you learn how to do? Yeah, I mean you're a man with many hats. You wear many hats, that is for sure. Where did you learn all of these skills? And
Um,
which musical instrument would you say you're most comfortable with?
I will answer the former just before I forget that question. Yeah, uh, basically when I started playing music, I mean, I'm a very creative person. I don't just play an instrument. I have to make songs, and then you have to record the songs, because I'm not going to write them out on paper. So basically, just from the start, like in the early 2000s, I would have like a microphone, a computer, start making some really bad sounding recordings. And the thing with anything is that repetition leads to improvements, right? So I just been doing this for like 20 years now. At some point, I decided it was good enough that I could offer my skills to other people as a recordist. And looking back on those recordings, I beg to differ. But still, you have improvements over time. And by now, I think I can do recordings that are good enough to put out in the public and to offer my services to others. In terms of instruments, I started playing bass, uh, but I quickly picked up guitar after that. When I was 18, like my friend had a drum kit lying around, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll try this out also. So I started playing like doopah 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 kind of drum beats, like
Yeah,
thrash metal kind of thing, and that was fun too. So I eventually picked up drums also. I play more than just tupa tupa now.
yeah, clearly.
but, uh, but yeah, I play those three instruments. Um, lately I've been playing more bass. Like I'm starting to have like a bass renaissance kind of thing. Trying to teach myself to play slap lately. I think maybe I could try to get some like slap on the next Nachtmuse recording. That'd be
Oh,
kind of
nice.
cool. Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
kind of pick that up again. But yeah, I think mainly I'm a guitarist.
Okay.
It seems to make the most sense. I mean, like for the genre that I'm working with, it's a guitar genre, and you've heard the music. It's very riff centric.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, guitar is my main thing.
Well, and you work with like the keyboard some also, or is it more of kind of like programming or?
Yeah, it's mainly programming. Like I write music from the perspective of a guitarist, for
Mhm.
better or for worse. So I mean, on the plus side, you get like very punchy, riffy music, which is what I like to hear.
Mhm.
Um, but on the negative side, as a guitarist, we tend to be kind of over focused on certain things in music. Like if I were a piano player, I'm sure I would have a different perspective on how to write music and possibly a better one. Because like piano players tend to see things with a bird's eye view. I mean,
Mhm.
literally, they see the entire chromatic scale laid out in front of them in all octaves, right? It's at their fingertips. And so they have like a certain grasp of chord progressions and modulations that is just missing from guitar. So we tend to over focus on just playing a cool riff or something, or playing within a scale. I don't remember where I was going with that, but yeah, I do not play piano, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
I'll program out like a little accompaniment symphonic part, and
Mhm.
then from there, in the past, myself and my songwriting partner would like kind of flesh those out into something that sounds more correct. Um, for this EP, I actually enlisted the help of a friend, Nathan Gross. He's an incredibly talented guy. He lives kind of close, London, Ontario. He has his own project, Age of Athena. Uh, he also has one called Haven Dream. So yeah, I had him help me kind of flesh out the orchestral parts that I made because I gave him some very general stuff like there's a chord progression for the strings to do, and he would add on like so many layers of brass and strings and some crazy synth sounds and whatnot. Like it was surprising like just how grand he made my arrangements. Like I don't know, when you hear the actual EP, you might notice that there's a bit of a contrast between like the somewhat intimate sound of the orchestrals that we had there versus his massive sound. I actually had to tone it down a bit. Like he
Oh
has
wow.
like he has parts where he'll have like a massive rushing build up to like a big chord, and it's just so cinematic sounding. And I was like, I'm gonna turn that down a little bit. Like it's awesome, but it's not quite the vibe. It's still in there, but it's just like toned down a little bit.
Yeah. So you're not
So
turning it up to 11, you're like turning it down to like 7, I guess.
yeah, but yeah, like I could easily have a remix of all the songs that's like the Nathan Gross orchestral version, and it's just like dun, dun, like massive orchestrals
Like
going off.
movie trailer kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like that's his sound. Yeah.
Wow. That's wild. So Darker Skies, that comes out when exactly?
I believe April 7th.
April 7th, right around the corner, really. Cool. So
Yeah,
folks do not have too long to wait. So
that's
that's
right.
really exciting. I mean, again, you have so many different influences and so much, you're in death metal bands, you got Nachtmuse, all this kind of stuff. What's your favorite like genre, I guess, to listen to? What music you listening to right now that you're really digging?
You know, it's kind of out of left field, but I've been listening to the Cult lately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like their 80s stuff is pretty kick
Yeah,
ass.
I dig
I like
it.
their first album. Like it's kind of like a gothy kind of Susie and the Banshees thing. I've been getting into like the goth rock genre lately. Like I mentioned, Susie and the Banshees,
Mhm.
All About Eve. These are bands I've been listening to lately. I like it's melodic, but it's also very like moody. I like
Mm.
to have that dark romantic mood included in my own music. So I've been listening to a lot of that, enjoying that. Fields of the Nephilim, that's another one I like a lot. I also just listen to a lot of like heavy metal, like the Japanese band Loudness.
Yeah, I've heard the name. Yeah.
Loudness, like their guitarist Akira Takasaki is like the riff king. Like
Wow.
every once in a while you'll hear like a big riff in my songs, and it's like, oh, I think he's doing the loudness thing again. I I just love like a good heavy metal riff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so funny you mentioned like the Susie and the Banshees and all that kind of stuff. I was not what I was expecting. You really do have quite the eclectic taste. So I'm waiting for kind of like a 80s vibe kind of song, at some point for Nachtmuse, just that that would be
Yeah, I mean,
awesome.
I could try it, but it'll probably just turn into like jun 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 kind of guitars in the end, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And when you're not listening to or playing music, what do you like to do?
Um, what do I like to do? Lately, I've been watching a lot of movies. But what I don't know, what I like to do, it really is just the music thing.
Just music.
Yeah.
Cool.
Uh,
Catch a movie every now and again, and then get back to music.
right.
That's awesome. Was there something in particular that inspired your love for music? What was there kind of like an origin point, like a band or a song or something that you heard when you were young that you were like, man, this is what I want to do?
Um, maybe it's my big sister. Like, she took me to my first concert when I was 12.
Oh,
It was Silverchair. Kind of dating myself.
Silverchair. We're going back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, back on the Neon Ballroom tour with Blink-182. So that was my first
Oh,
concert. And yeah, I think at some point I was like, the bass sounds good. I think I'll try playing the bass. And then from there, like, I rented a bass and a tiny little practice amp. And I found out if you turn the thing up to 10 and just play like the same riff over and over, it feels really good. So for me, it's just been like uh, chasing the exhilaration of playing something heavy, makes you feel mighty. That's
mm,
just been like the whole impulse that's led me to keep doing this. Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I love that. The power, that you must feel like, hitting those heavy riffs, and the amps are shaking, the windows are rattling, and it's just, oh yeah, we're getting serious in here now.
That's
So
what it is. Yeah, that's what it is.
awesome. Any plans to hopefully one day play live with Nachtmuse, or
Hmm.
is that not even really in your,
I
sight?
I would very much like to. It's kind of a daunting thing to envision. Like, I would have to find people who can play it, who would play it in a manner that I see is suitable.
Mhm.
But I would definitely do it if I felt that I could do this without like serious losses incurred. Like you're probably aware that the environment for live music right now is not very good.
Mhm.
Um, but having said that, I would do it if I was confident that I could come out in one piece, not completely impoverished as a result. I would do it.
Yeah, you don't want to have to live in the alley behind the club that you just played in,
That's right.
like something, you need a good balance.
Yeah, yeah.
But awesome. So yeah, Darker Skies, new EP coming out April 7th, and I'm assuming Nachtmuse is not slowing down anytime soon.
I don't think so. I intend to do another full length sometime
Sweet.
soon. Yeah.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, I mean, just congrats on everything that you've been able to do with Nachtmuse, and your first full length album, and now your brand new EP coming out. Really exciting stuff. And again, just really, really cool. Just what you do song wise, music wise, how diverse, it is. But, you capture the same spirit of like, not, there's a thread that connects everything, even though some of the songs sound so vastly different at times. So it's just really, really cool to listen to, and to experience pretty much. It's not like, you're not getting like just like the typical kind of like radio friendly, just kind of same old, like they're in like a industrial shop just kind of printing like these songs out, you know what I mean? Like you're getting something that demands more of a attentive ear, and just to really dive into it. So it's really cool. And it's a lot of fun to listen to. So just a big congrats on everything that you've accomplished so far. And I know I speak for a lot of folks that look forward to seeing what else you continue to create in the future. So yeah, and thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me here today. I really, really appreciate it. It was so cool getting to hear your side of things regarding Nachtmuse. So
Awesome. And yeah, thank you for having me. Nothing could make me happier than to get to talk about my creativity with someone else.
awesome, great. But yeah, so there you have it, folks. That's Jeff with Nachtmuse, and I'm gonna put all of the um, links to social media, links to the singles under the Yoke music video, and then some of the singles released from this upcoming EP, Darker Skies. All that stuff's going to be in the description down below, so you can follow the social media, keep up with what's happening with the band, and also check out some of the music if you haven't already. So go have fun with that. Go explore that in the description. And once again, one final thank you, sir, for joining me. I had a great time. And yeah, thank you all, everyone out there, so much for tuning in. And I'll catch you all next time. Ranger, out.